7 bone-chilling wilderness horror stories you've never heard but should fear now. The sun dipped below the edge of Pine Ridge, leaving the dense forest cloaked in shadows deeper than night itself. Just as silence settled in, an eerie whisper sliced through the air like a knife, an unsettling promise of stories no one wanted to hear. In the heart of this lush wilderness lurked terror, strange events that could haunt even the bravest soul. Tales of campers lost to something far more sinister than the wild, moments that would twist your gut and make your heart race like a runaway train. The first whisper echoed from the old maple grove, where the trees twisted in grotesque shapes, like twisted fingers reaching for the sky. Locals warned their children never to stray too close. They said at night, the air shimmered with the sounds of laughter, a playful trick that only led to darkness. What haunted those woods? Was it the legend of the ghost children, forever playing hide and seek, or perhaps something worse? They lured unsuspecting campers with echoes of joy only to swallow them whole. Then there was the tale of the shadow that stalked the campgrounds of Silver Lake, a tall figure cloaked in black, always just out of sight. Anyone who caught a glimpse felt a wave of utter despair, the kind that choked you and squeezed your heart in a vice. David Swanson, a once vibrant adventurer, described it in hushed tones, his face pale. "It followed me," he whispered, eyes wide with fear. "I could feel it in the trees, watching, waiting." When he finally emerged from those woods, he wasn't the same. That lingering dread hung around him like a foul stench, but it wasn't just the shadows that stirred anxiety. In the clearing past Willow Creek, a campsite burned by night. Its charred remains held a terrifying truth, a warning etched in ash: we should have left. Only the brave or foolish would camp near it. Sizzling thick smoke seemed to whisper secrets of the night it all went wrong, stinging everyone's eyes who dared approach. Was it mere negligence or a sinister force that created the fire? And if they stayed long enough, would they too become another grim tale? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the wind howled through the trees, an inexplicable chill settled over the campsite. Rumors said if you lingered too long, you'd hear them phantom sounds of those who had once been. Feet rustling through the grass, soft cries of despair weaving through the night. Some claimed there were glimpses of faces in the shadows, eyes looking back at you with knowing sorrow. The deeper you tread into the woods, the more danger lurked, an invisible net ready to snare the unwary. A family camping nearby decided to explore the woods against every warning. Laughter echoed as they ventured off the beaten path, deep into dark terrain that felt alive. The trees closed in, wrapping around them like a predator tightening its jaws. "Let us just go a little further," Tommy, the oldest boy, said, against his parents' often repeated advice. With each step, the laughter faded, leaving an echo of panic pulsing in their chests. They would soon discover if curiosity was worth the risk. Lost in the whispers of the dark, who would hear their calls for help? In the distance, a chilling scream pierced the night, sending fresh goosebumps racing down their arms. What had they awakened? Desperate footsteps began to echo, but would it be their own that was heard? A horrifying realization set in: it wasn't just them that wandered the forest, but something far darker. Would they make it back before the wild claimed them? Only the woods knew for sure. The woods echoed with silence, heavy and suffocating, as the air thickened. The family paused, fear gripping their hearts. Tommy's laughter had turned to an uneasy murmur, a fleeting recognition of danger creeping down his spine. Something was out there, waiting, watching. The depth of the forest transformed, the shadows lengthening as the last vestiges of sunlight vanished. Each member of the family exchanged fearful glances, uncertainty weaving its way among them like a thick fog. "Maybe we should head back," Tommy suggested, but the words barely escaped his lips before the sound of rustling leaves silenced him. It wasn't the breeze, it couldn't be. This sound felt purposeful, deliberate. Instinctively, they huddled together, their breaths coming in shallow gasps. The darkness had grown heavy, and with it, the realization hit every choice they made after straying from the path was now weighing down on them like a leaden curse. Mom? Dad? The youngest, Lucy, whimpered, clinging to her mother's hand. Shoo! Her father hissed, eyes darting through the trees. The manner in which the dark held its breath felt too alive, too intent. Suddenly, a snap, loud like thunder, erupted nearby. It echoed with such intensity that even the birds overhead fell silent. Tommy's pulse raced. What was that? He whispered, barely containing the tremor in his voice. Before they could react, shadows flickered through the trees' elongated arms reaching for them, desperate and chaotic. The laughter they had heard earlier teased again through the shadows, but it was no longer light-hearted, it was menacing. Run! His mother shouted, eyes wide with panic as she grabbed Lucy. They sprinted deeper into the woods, the forest a twisted maze, endlessly black. Roots snarled at their feet as branches clawed at their arms. Panic thrummed in their ears like drums, drowning out everything else. The screaming wind whipped at their faces, but they didn't stop. They couldn't. The laughter followed, now mingled with whispers harrowing, taunting voices that wrapped around the family like a shroud. Help us, the whisper urged. Find us, it was a call that sent chills clenching their stomachs, like fingers digging in. Who were they supposed to help? Shadows from the past? The specters of lost campers pulling them into darkness? Tommy glanced back, catching a glimpse of movement. A figure slipped between the trees, tall and thin, with an aura of shadow trailing behind. His heart seemed to bypass his brain, thudding wildly in his chest as dread washed over him. Is it following us? He gasped, thoughts spiraling out of control. His parents exchanged terrified glances, but their fear transformed into resolve. We have to reach the clearing. His father yelled over the wind. Stay close. Suddenly, the landscape shifted. A familiar space loomed ahead, a small clearing they had stumbled upon earlier. But something was wrong. The air felt charged, electric with anticipation. The moment they reached the center of the clearing, the laughter erupted all around them, mocking, echoing off the trees. What do we do? Lucy cried, fear flooding her voice. Hide. His mother urged, pointing to the thick brush on the edge of the clearing. They bolted to the cover, heartbeats thrumming loudly in their ears. The oppressive darkness closed in, and now the whispers grew louder, more insistent, clawing at the fraying edges of their sanity. Each breath felt heavier, each heartbeat a countdown. What had they awakened in the woods? And then, as abruptly as it started, the whispers ceased. All that remained was the sound of the wind and their panicked breaths. But silence in these woods was a sign of something far worse. In the stillness, a new voice emerged, deep and resonant, reverberating off every tree. You shouldn't have come here. At that chilling proclamation, a piercing rush of cold swept through the clearing, freezing them where they stood. The darkness, it was alive. What does that mean? Tommy thought, fear clawing at his throat as he realized the cruel intentions now made manifest. In that very moment, the sky shimmered unnaturally, a parting veil revealing a shadow-laden figure ready to embrace those who strayed too far. Below, the woods awaited their choice, but the terror was just beginning. Would they find a way back, or would they too vanish into the ghostly stories? Another whisper in the woods. As they held their breath, the figure took a step closer, and with it, the forest darkened further. What more horrors could lurk in the shadows to torment them, waiting to shatter their hopes? The figure loomed larger, its shadow stretching across the ground like a dark promise of despair. Tommy's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage as if trying to escape the chilling fate that awaited them. He could barely breathe, the air thickened by palpable dread. The whispers, now gone, left a deafening silence that held their every thought captive. Do you see it? His father whispered, desperation crackling in his voice as he clutched Lucy tighter. The starlight barely pierced the thick branches above, but Tommy could make out the outline of the figure, a tall, gangly shape, moving with an unnatural grace. It had no face, just an empty space where its features should have been. His mother trembled beside him, her initial shock morphing into frantic resolve. "We need to go now," she urged, but something held them captive, rooted in place as if the very ground had conspired against their escape. Just then, from behind them, the laughter erupted again, louder this time, a cacophony of voices echoing through the woods, wrapping around their minds like tendrils of terror. It clawed at their sanity, each note a reminder of the danger closing in around them. "Run!" Lucy screamed, breaking the spell and propelling them forward. They surged from their hiding spot, but the clearing seemed distorted, the path they thought they knew morphing into chaos. The figure moved, gliding through the air, with long arms stretching forward as if to grasp at their heels. Tommy felt an icy gust whip past him, a taunting reminder of the darkness that awaited should they falter. Panic surged, every nerve in his body screaming for them to escape. They barreled deeper into the woods, branches slashing at their faces, but Tommy didn't look back. "He couldn't," Lucy stumbled, and before Tommy could react, his mother grabbed the girl, lifting her to her feet, breathless yet determined. "Keep moving," she yelled, her voice almost breaking under the weight of despair. The shadows flickered and danced, the laughter ringing relentlessly in their ears, rising like a madness they couldn't shake. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground beneath them sought to anchor them in place. "We have to find the path," Tommy shouted, desperation coloring his voice, but how? The trees twisted and turned, blocking their way, each familiar landmark now nothing but a memory obscured by fear. They staggered on, hearts pounding like drums of war, chasing an unseen escape route. Suddenly, the laughter shifted, turning from chaotic glee to deep, chilling growls. "They're coming for you," a voice hissed from the dark, so close it sent shivers racing down Tommy's spine. A surge of adrenaline propelled him forward, his family followed closely, fear making their pace feverish. Then, just ahead, a flickering light broke through the trees, golden and warm, beckoning them. Hope ignited within Tommy's chest. "There!" he gasped, sprinting towards the light, the reassurance of safety tasting sweet. But as they approached, the light warped, flickering like a malfunctioning bulb. The shadows around it seemed alive, twisting to close in, and suddenly the laughter erupted again, but this time it morphed into screams, haunting, guttural wails clawing at their sanity. "No, no, no!" his father cried, as despair seeped into their hearts. The light shrank, and the figure lurked, ever closer, the darkness behind it swallowing the hope they grasped for. Tommy stumbled, and for a moment, he met the empty gaze of the figure, a hollow void that seemed to consume reality itself. Then something shattered in the woods, a bone-chilling sound like breaking glass, echoing through the trees, reverberating deep within them. The air grew thick, and another realization crashed over him: they might not be alone. "What was that?" Lucy breathed, eyes wide with terror. "He's coming," Tommy yelled, fighting the urge to look back. Stumbling forward, he shoved his family through the brush, desperate for an escape, but now, a new fear bubbled to the surface. What if whatever lived in the dark wasn't the only thing haunting these woods? As they rushed through the undergrowth, the haunting laughter melded with the howls of those unseen, swirling into a chaotic symphony of terror. Together, they barreled toward the light that beckoned like a siren song, but another thought gnawed at Tommy: would reaching it even mean salvation, or were they simply racing towards something far worse? The air froze as he felt something cold and watching press against his back. The chase had twisted into a hunt, and in that moment, uncertainty consumed him. What lay ahead? And more terrifyingly, what still lurked behind them? The thought lingered, heavy in the chilling air, as they stumbled toward a place unknown. The path they charged toward flickered once more, tantalizingly close yet warped like a mirage. Tommy's breath came in gasps, each inhale feeling like ice in his lungs, a cruel reminder of how perilously close danger loomed. His heartbeat thundered in his ears, drowning out the once familiar rustle of leaves and the distant cries that had now surged into a tormenting chorus. "Faster! Don't look back!" his mother urged, pulling Lucy along. The urgency in her voice was laced with an edge of terror that sliced through the tension thickening around them. Lucy's small hand trembled in Tommy's grip, her wide eyes reflecting fear that mirrored his own. Suddenly, a bark rang out, sharp and sudden, echoing like a gunshot, and from the shadows emerged another shape, a dog or wolf maybe, but twisted and wrong. Its fur hung in matted clumps, eyes burning with an unnatural glow, almost as if lit from within. The creature snarled, an ill omen punctuated by the sound of cracking branches beneath its clawed paws. The moment stretched, frozen in time, a pause laden with dread before the world imploded in chaos. "Don't stop. Move!" Tommy yelled, shoving his sister aside to dodge the creature, his heart racing as he darted past. The sound of barking and snapping jaws closed in behind them, a reminder that the darkness overtook not just the woods, but a primal fear winding tight around their throats. They stumbled over roots and rocks, eyes locked ahead at the light that grew dimmer with each dashed step. Tommy's lungs burned, each inhalation scraping raw against his throat. They fought against branches that clawed at their skin, the forest itself a monster determined to keep them from fleeing the sinister intent that encircled them. Just a little further. His father panted, pushing through a thicket, but the light flickered wildly. It was pulling away, ebbing like a tide reluctant to let go. "Tommy. Lucy." A voice rang out from the shadows, deep and resonant, almost familiar. It froze them in their tracks, their hearts crashing against their ribs in unison, uncertainty melding with fear. "Dad?" Tommy's voice wobbled. He turned, glancing back at the encroaching darkness. The figure stood still, watching, its elongated shape shifting but barely distinguishable under the waning light. "Keep running," his mother shouted, her voice slicing through the air like a blade, but even she hesitated. The voice called again, more insistent, echoing amidst the madness. "Help me. It's trapped." Tommy felt his blood run cold. The charm of hope twisted into something grotesque, tugging at the fragile thread of loyalty and love. "Dad!" He yelled again, desperation clawing at him, pulling him back as primal instincts warred within. The laughter coiled tighter around them now, morphing into shrieks that curled in a painful spiral through the trees. The figure moved closer, the emptiness of its face reflecting something sinister, like a dark mirror taunting their instincts. Tommy faced the light, urging himself to believe it still offered sanctuary, a promise of safety. But at the edge of the clearing, the creature and shadows bridged the gap between him and his family. Every fiber of his being screamed to help his dad while survival demanded he keep running. "What will you choose?" The voice hissed, reverberating through the woods, a chilling question spiraling through the chaos, a deal etched in dreadful uncertainty. "Tommy. We need to go." His mother's grip strengthened on his arm, pulling him away from the choice circling like vultures over prey. With every deafening beat of his heart, he was aware of the decision weighing heavy on his shoulders. The path they had been on shimmered in the distance, the lure of light and promise battling against the shadows closing in. And then, all at once, the ground quaked, sending tremors through the trees, as if the very earth craved to swallow them whole. The air thickened again, no escape from the clutches of their fears. As the darkness danced closer, one thought screamed louder than all the others: what awaited them at the light? Was there truly safety there, or was it just the facade of hope hiding something worse? As they rushed toward the light, Tommy's pulse quickened, and with his next breath, he would have to choose forging a path through the unknown or risking everything to grasp the past. What would it mean for those they left behind? Tommy's legs moved instinctively, propelled by fear and adrenaline, but with every step, he felt the pull of his dad's voice echoing in his mind. It was a desperate call, one that clawed at his insides, threatening to derail his escape. His heart raced faster than his feet could carry him. "Mom, we can't leave him," Tommy shouted, fighting against his mother's grip, her eyes darting anxiously between him and the fading light. "Tommy. There's no time. We go now, or we all die." Her voice, sharp and soaked with urgency, stung him, but he could see the fear in her eyes too. She was torn, just like him. Lucy stumbled, her small frame struggling to keep pace. "I can't run anymore," she gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks. Tommy's heart twisted. He couldn't let her fall behind. But the distant snarls of the creature whipped through the trees like a wild wind, hasty and hungry. The forest seemed to pulse, alive with malice, branches scraping at them, urging them backward while they pressed forward. "Hold on to my hand, Lucy," he called as he bent down to grasp her trembling fingers tight. Fear surged through him. The creature was closer than ever. "Quickly! Run!" His mother screamed again, pulling them forward, but another bark split the night, low and threatening, the shadows flickering with grotesque shapes that seemed to dance. "Over there." Tommy pointed to a narrow gap between two massive oaks, their trunks gnarled and ancient. "We can hide." Without waiting for his mother to reply, he surged forward, his grip on Lucy unyielding as they wedged themselves into the space. The scent of damp earth filled their noses, muffling the sound of their frantic breaths. In the darkness, they pressed close together, their bodies trembling against the cold. The world outside became muffled, a cacophony of snapping twigs and low growls that made his skin crawl. From their hiding place, Tommy peeked through the knotted branches. The creature prowled near, moving with an unnatural grace, its glowing eyes scanning the area. It paused, snorting the air as if it could smell their fear. "Where are you?" The voice called, still heavy with aching familiarity and desperate hope. It sent chills through Tommy, electrifying his nerves. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, willing it to go away. "Why does it sound like Dad?" he whispered. His mother's face twisted in agony, trying to find comfort in the darkness. "What if you heard the voice, too?" she asked, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "Mom, it can't be him. It's not our dad, it's something wrong," Tommy insisted, anger mixing with desperation. Every fiber of his being screamed to help his father, yet something deep inside recognized the engraved warning in the creature's growls. From outside their refuge, the creature paused again, its head tilting, as if it could sense their betrayal of trust. The hushed dread grew heavier, silence wrapping around them like a cold shroud. Suddenly, Tommy's heart dropped as the shimmering light danced again in the distance, vibrant but flickering. It drew him, like a moth to flame, yet a part of him knew light often masks danger. "What's happening?" Lucy whimpered, clutching tighter to his arm. "It's calling for us," his mother whispered, nearly inaudible above the heavy darkness. "In here." The voice called again, now harsh and demanding, dripping in a pitiful tone that twisted Tommy's stomach. "Help me." The creature appeared, hovering closer, eyes piercing through the shadows. Time stretched. They were caught between instinct and reverence, the light teetering, the darkness pulling, a mahogany draw loomed, deep and unsettling, and then it happened. Everything seemed to collapse inward, darkness closing in around them with a deafening roar. The creature lunged forward, snapping its jaws, teeth glistening like knives, and in that moment, Tommy realized, his family's survival hung by a thread stretched too thin, one foot in the light and another in the abyss. "Let us go. Now!" His mother shouted, breaking him from the trance, but the darkness throbbed with a potent rage, the world around them twisting unnaturally. They pushed through the oak tree, fear clawing at their heels. As they darted out, another snap echoed, a branch splintering underfoot. "Run!" Tommy yelled, pulling Lucy and his mother into the shrouded night once more, knowing that behind them, the forest had awakened, and with it, its true, exposed horrors. The path was unclear, but the choice hung thicker than the darkness, whether to fight against the shadows, or to surrender to the light that could lead them into an even darker truth. As they rushed ahead, uncertainty lurked what lay in wait for them on this harrowing trek. Would they escape the monster in the woods only to unleash something even more terrifying beyond the light? Would they find their father, or would they doom themselves trying to save something that was already lost? The night air felt thick like a heavy blanket as they bolted through the trees. The darkness swelled around them, seeming to pulsate with every hurried step. Tommy could hear it, the whispers growing fainter, the growls sharpening. His heart hammered loud enough to drown out everything else, panic clawing at his throat. "Don't look back," his mother urged, her voice strained yet fierce. Her grip on Lucy's hand was a lifeline, but Tommy could sense her wavering strength. "Tommy." Lucy's voice trembled behind him, a fragile thread that pulled at his resolve. "What if it gets us?" "Stick close." Please. Panic surged through him, threatening to spill into anger. How could he protect them when fear thrashed through their trembling forms like a wild beast unleashed? A branch snapped nearby, echoing through the air like a gunshot. The creature was gaining. He could feel its breath, hot and fetid, washing over him like a wave. Time twisted around them, every heartbeat felt stretched, as if the night was conspiring to keep them trapped. Turn left. He shouted, veering sharply into a thicket of underbrush. The branches scraped against their skin, tearing at their clothes. He didn't care, he just needed to put distance between them and whatever hunted them. But behind them, that voice called again, now raw and howling, "Tommy. Please." Every word sliced through him, a double-edged sword of hope and despair. Was it really his father? The prospect tugged at heartstrings he didn't realize were still there. "Mom." He gasped, skidding to a stop. What if it really is him? "Tommy, no." She was pleading. "It's not our dad. We need to keep going." But how could he ignore the longing embedded in each choked cry? The darkness morphed around him, shifting, pulling, whispering. He felt the weight of everyone's eyes upon him, the decision, the burden to choose. "Help me." The voice became twisted, filled with anguish. It shattered the air, echoing off the trees. Something deep within him screamed to stop, to listen, as the light shimmered again, brighter and more tangible. What if it was a chance to save his father? But then came the snarling roar, shaking the ground beneath his feet. The creature was close, impossibly close. Tommy's instinct screamed at him to run, yet something kept him rooted in place. "Run!" He yelled at Lucy and his mother, forcing himself to turn away from the voice. They stumbled forward, and he sprinted after them, each heartbeat a war drum, pushing him relentlessly. The shadows clung, a veil of terror. The branches seemed to grasp at him, pulling, trying to drag him back into the depths of the darkness. The world around them blurred into an inky void as they raced down the uneven ground. And then, just like that silence, the night was suddenly too quiet. Tommy skidded to a halt, chest heaving, eyes darting. His mother and Lucy pressed up beside him, eyes wide, fear palpable. The ominous stillness crashed down around them, heavy and suffocating. "Where is it?" he whispered, scanning the untamed wilderness with growing dread. "Why can't I hear it?" But as if answering his question, the underbrush rustled. A low growl vibrated through the air, its chilling resonance sending shivers down their spines. There it was waiting, stalking, not far behind. "Run!" his mother urged, fear clawing at her voice, and they all bolted again, adrenaline spurring them forward. But suddenly, they stumbled into an opening, a clearing bathed in the erratic gleam of moonlight, and that when they saw it. Sleek and menacing, the creature stood there, eyes shimmering with grotesque awareness. It was massive, rippling with sinewy muscle beneath matted fur. Tommy's breath caught in his throat as fear turned into icy dread that gripped him tighter than ever. "Go!" he screamed, grabbing Lucy's hand with renewed urgency as they turned to flee, but the ground beneath them shifted. Roots erupted, tangling around their ankles like living serpents, yanking them down. "Tommy!" Lucy cried, terror written across her tiny face as the creature prowled closer, its breath hot and rancid. "Help me!" The voice echoed again, closer now, a mix of agony and hope, filaments of despair weaving through their fate. Tommy's heart hesitated, caught between two terrifying realities. The creature loomed, but the voice called, stronger than the fear wrapping around him. Was it a cry for help or a fatal trap? As the light flickered again, beckoning him with its deadly allure, Tommy knew he had to choose. In the grip of that moment, he stood frozen between saving his family or potentially plunging them into the abyss. What would he decide? Would he turn into the light, or face the horror head-on? And as he wavered, the shadows began to stretch, hungry for a choice, ready to claim whatever fate awaited him. The roots tightened around their ankles like iron shackles, unyielding and rough. Tommy felt the earth tugging him down, a visceral reminder of his helplessness. The creature loomed closer, every step resonating with a low, menacing growl that reverberated through the clearing. Fear gripped him, paralyzing, even as his instincts screamed to escape. Let go. I can't move. Lucy's voice cracked, panic rising like bile in her throat. Her small hands clawed at the roots as if they were alive, slick with mud and determination. Hold on. Tommy shouted, though he was fighting back tears. He tugged at her, desperate to pull her free, but the more he struggled, the tighter the roots clamped down. His own breath turned ragged. Help me, the voice echoed again, now mere feet away. It dripped with desperation, weaving around his thoughts like a siren's song. Tommy's heart twisted. This voice wasn't just familiar, it was the embodiment of something beautiful and tragic, a flicker of hope in a sea of darkness. Mom! He yelled, turning to her, searching her eyes. Her gaze held an unbearable weight. Tommy! Focus! She urged, shaking him from his reverie, her eyes darting to the creature. Forget the voice. We have to go. But the voice twisted in the air again, this time sharper and filled with agony. Help me. It pleaded, a blend of sorrow that wrung his heart. Each time he heard it, it drained his resolve, drawing him closer to whatever dwelled within that light. The creature prowled closer, each inch revealing more of its form, muscles rippling under matted fur, jaws pulled back in a grotesque snarl. The moonlight glinted off razor-sharp teeth, and Tommy swallowed hard, feeling the bile rising. Get back! His mother shouted, her eyes wide with fear. We have to run. Tommy grunted, wiggling his foot free but refusing to leave Lucy behind. I can't just leave her. The roots shifted as he tried to extract her, but she was stuck. Each tug only seemed to tighten the grasp of the earth on her, and then, without warning, the creature lunged. It moved with a speed that left Tommy's heart in his throat, a horrific blur rushing toward them, teeth snapping in the night air. The growl became a roar, vibrating through his bones, sounding like the very growl of nightmares coming to life. His mother flung herself forward, arms wide, a shield between the creature and her children. Run, Tommy. Now. Get Lucy. In that moment, the world around him dissolved into chaos. Tommy stumbled back as adrenaline coursed through him, routing his fear into something more primal. He pushed, literally pulling Lucy free and tossing an anxious glance toward their mother. A split second felt like an eternity as his eyes found his mom, standing her ground against the monster preparing to pounce. Go. She met his gaze, filled with fierce determination. Tommy felt every part of him scream to follow her order, yet his feet were chained to the ground. They were trapped in an ugly moment, caught in a terrible tableau of love and fear, while the creature loomed like a dark storm gathering speed. That he could let the call of that voice lure him into the light, but what if it was a trap? What if the creature's arrival was just the beginning of something worse? Tommy. Lucy's voice broke through his thoughts, her grip tight on his arm as the roots released their hold on her, finally. They stumbled back, ready to run, but dread carved a deep channel in that moment. Help me, the voice echoed again, now blending with a half-formed howl as the creature's form shifted behind them. Tommy's heart thundered, torn between their fleeing escape and the pull of that haunting voice. But before he could make the choice, darkness enveloped them. The clearing seemed to absorb the very light as if the air itself could swallow them whole. Mom! He shouted, as panic clawed at his throat. And just like that, the choice was made for them. The shadows deepened, reaching out with fingers of darkness, drawing closer, weaving around their bodies, and Tommy knew they were running towards something, not away, with the moonlight. Dimming behind them, the path stretched ahead, uncertain and perilous, leading them deeper into the wilderness and deeper into whatever awaited in the dark. What was lurking just ahead? Would they ever find their way back to safety, or were they diving headfirst into a nightmare they could never escape? The darkness swallowed them whole as they broke free from the grip of fear and earth. Tommy's heart raced in a rhythm that matched the frantic pounding of their feet on the fallen leaves. They sprinted into the dense trees, the gnarly branches clawing at them like skeletal hands. Shadows danced in the corner of his vision, but he dared not look back. Where do we go? Lucy gasped, her breath hitching as they ran. Tommy glanced over his shoulder, catching fleeting glimpses of the twisted creature behind them. The moonlight caught its eyes, glowing like dim embers, a predatory hunger lurking within. "Anywhere but here," he replied, pushing harder against the damp earth beneath his shoes. Suddenly, the world shifted around them. They stumbled into a tight thicket, the thorns pricking at their skin as they weaved through. Tommy's mind buzzed, swirling with doubt. What if they ran in circles? What if they were led back to that clearing, back to the voice, back to Mom? Lucy cried, her voice tearing through the haze of panic that threatened to engulf him. "She's right behind us," he shouted without conviction, feeling like a fool for hoping she was still safe. His heart twisted, knowing each step away from their mother might be a step closer to losing her. The forest was alive with sounds, whispers of the trees swaying, the rustle of unseen creatures hiding just out of view. And somewhere in that cacophony, the voice echoed again, more desperate now, thin as fog. "Help me please." Tommy shuddered, an icy grip of dread sliding down his spine. Lucy turned, a wild look in her eyes. "We can't help her. We need to keep going." The path before them narrowed, a tangle of branches closing in. The weight of silence fell thick momentarily, suffocating. Then, a roar shattered the air, a reverberating warning that sent shivers racing down Tommy's limbs. The creature was prowling behind them. It wasn't giving up. "Faster!" he barked, dragging Lucy along as hope evaporated like mist in the morning sun. They stumbled through the underbrush, nearly tripping over roots and jagged stones. Just ahead, a faint glimmer of light danced through the trees, a beacon that seemed to promise refuge. Tommy clung to that spark, desperation fueling him. "Look! Over there!" he shouted, but Lucy hesitated, scanning the shadows behind. "It could be a trap," she gasped, her fears slipping through the cracks as she clung to him. But the voice twisted like a knife in his heart. "Help me." As if answering their dilemma, shadows rippled. The creature surged closer, eyes igniting with unholy fervor. Time slowed, everything felt hyperreal. The forest dimmed as if holding its breath. "Move!" Tommy yelled, and this time he saw the flicker of determination in Lucy's eyes matched his own. They launched themselves toward the strange light, like moths drawn to flame. The moment they broke through the thicket and skidded into the clearing, disbelief hit them. A white glow illuminated a strange altar, an eerie shimmer pooling in its center. Surrounding it were twisted statues, grotesque figures frozen in torment. "Tommy," Lucy whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "What is this place?" Before he could answer, the creature bellowed, the sound reverberating through the trees like the toll of an ominous bell. Something primal clicked inside him, a base instinct demanding they not stand idle. They had to confront whatever nightmares laid ahead, or the darkness would consume them. But that light, it beckoned. It was everything they had run toward and feared. That in one heart-stopping moment, the air behind them shifted. The creature burst from the shadows, and at the same time, Tommy felt the power of the altar throbbing through the ground beneath him. Could they harness it? Could they use it to confront their fears? "Let us find out," he whispered, feeling the boundaries of hope and dread collide. What happened next would be the choice of their lives, or perhaps their final act of desperation. And in that flicker of a moment, they knew the forest might devour the light, but perhaps they could harness the darkness instead, or be lost forever. The altar radiated an otherworldly beauty, casting soft beams of light that pierced the suffocating darkness surrounding it. Tommy felt an inexplicable draw, like pulled by an invisible thread. Lucy hesitated, the uncertainty shadowing her brows, but the creature was all too close now. "Stay with me," he urged, gripping her hand tight as they approached the altar. He could almost feel its pulse through the soles of his shoes, thrumming a dangerous melody that sang of power, but also foreboding. The statues loomed over them, stony faces twisted in eternal anguish, silently warning of the consequences that might come with harnessing whatever lay in the altar's glow. The air grew thin, heavy with dread, and each breath felt like an act of rebellion against the consuming fear that stalked them. Tommy glanced back at the forest. The creature paused, shimmering in the moonlight, its grotesque body shifting like fog, with every glimmer of its eyes burning hot with hunger, the need to consume. "We can do this," he breathed, turning his full attention to the altar. "Whatever's in there, it can help us. Help us? Or trap us?" Lucy whispered, her voice small and uncertain. The tremor in her words echoed Tommy's own doubts. He could feel the creature's eyes on him, weighing his resolve, its breath ragged and alive with anticipation. Desperation won out. He stepped forward, reaching for the light. As his fingers brushed against the cool surface, the glow intensified. The air thrummed with energy, vibrating through him like a tuning fork, resonating not just in his bones, but deep in his soul. "Tommy!" Lucy cried, suddenly pulling him back. But it was too late. The moment his skin made contact, a cascade of visions erupted in his mind. He saw echoes of the past, fleeting images of faces twisted in fear, hands reaching out, lost in the void. Lost. With each passing second, he felt their terror entwining with his own, threatening to smother him. Startled, he staggered back, breathless. "We shouldn't, we can't," he gasped, struggling to shake the visions clouding his mind. But the beast didn't wait for their comprehension. It lunged forward through the trees, furious and ready to strike, jaws gleaming like daggers. Instinctively, Tommy and Lucy stood their ground, hearts drumming in unison against the encroaching darkness. "We fight it," he declared, voice hoarse. "We've got to face it together." Lucy nodded, her eyes burning with fierce bravery. They stepped closer to the altar. As they approached, the light pulsed, and the ground beneath them quaked. Shadows morphed into shapes, figures emerging no longer just statues, but manifestations of their fears, towering and merciless. All around, the clearing became engulfed in surreal chaos. Wails filled the air, echoing the cries he had heard before, reverberating within him. It was as if the voices of the forest joined the crescendo, pleading, taunting. "Help us, help us." Tommy's mind raced. This place was a nexus of fear, a breeding ground for the darkness that had hunted them. And now, it demanded its toll. With each thundering beat of the creature's approach, a choice lay before them to harness the power. "We need to confront what we fear most," he shouted above the cacophony. "Face your fear, Lucy. We don't have any other option." The ground vibrated. The altar's glow flickered like an unstable flame. Tommy felt the weight of their decision crushing him from all sides, a choice that could lead them to liberation or doom. Lucy trembled, terror painting her features. What if we can't? The creature was mere steps away now, its growl vibrating deep within their chests. Time stretched painfully, leaving them with one final spark of hope or perhaps an irrevocable plunge into the abyss. Taking in a shaky breath, he tightened his grip on Lucy's hand. "We won't know until we try." And just as it seemed the creature would clash with them, a flash of light birthed and blinded, an eruption of power surged, and Tommy realized there would be no turning back now, but as they stood on the precipice of their fears. Another chilling whisper broke through the chaos, promising something deeper, something unfathomable. Join us, what did that voice mean, and what awaited them in the heart of the altar's light? The force of the altar surged, enveloping Tommy and Lucy in a brilliance so intense it eclipsed the monstrous shadows. The creature paused, momentarily blinded by the radiant flood pouring from the altar. Seizing the moment, Tommy's courage blazed hot. He could feel Lucy's trembling hand in his grip, steadying him. "Together!" Tommy shouted, voice fierce as he squeezed her hand. The light pulsed in response, alive and welcoming. "We face it now." As they stepped toward the altar, echoes of their fears swirled around them, images of their father, the growling creature, moments of despair that threatened to ensnare them. Tommy felt a deep ache for what might be lost, but something within him flickered a glimmer of hope tethered to love and resolve. That was the anchor they needed. The shadows writhed beside them, forming into grotesque shapes that held memories of fear. Each one whispered its invitation, urging them to surrender to despair. But Tommy wouldn't let go. He had to fight. "Think of what we wish to protect," he roared, the words igniting warmth within him as he staved off the encroaching darkness. Lucy's breath caught beside him, and she stepped forward, eyes alight with newfound resolve. In that instant of clarity, a surge of energy flowed from the altar. Understanding spun through the air. It wasn't just light, but raw power, a force of intention and bravery able to confront the terror before them. They needed to claim it. Embrace it. Lucy whispered, her voice fierce, catching the rhythm of courage as they pushed deeper into the glowing heart of the altar. Tommy felt warmth wash over them. It wasn't merely light in its beauty, but a protective aura that shielded them against the chilling whispers. The creature lurched, snarling with primal rage. The air filled with its growls, vibrating through the ground under their feet as it sprang forwards, but the altar's light expanded outward, forming a shimmering barrier that pushed back against the beast. Do not let go. Tommy yelled, his heart roiling with determination. The altar responded, amplifying their will, and they shouted their fears aloud every moment of doubt, every hesitation. We will not be your prey. With fury firing their resolve, memories swelled their father's warm embrace, laughter around the campfire, the sense of family that once felt so protected. Those images fueled their strength, echoing back to them, empowering the light as it gained momentum. The power within them roared to life, filling the clearing with vibrant energy, bending the reality of the woods around them. They pressed forward into the light, now shimmering with an outer brilliance. The creature howled, straining against that encroaching warmth, but the altar burst forth with cascading waves of pure energy. It surged like a tidal wave breaking against the shore, wrapping around Tommy and Lucy in a protective cloak as they faced the creature head-on, and then it happened. The shadows writhed, screaming as if the overwhelming light streamed through their very essence. The altar throbbed, and with each pulse, the whispers transformed into cries that rang with urgency, reaching for what they had lost long ago. Help us, they echoed. The dark was consumed in that radiant glow, fading away. The barrier held firm, and Tommy could see the creature's body twisting, contorting, as it was rebuffed and swallowed by the light. No more. Tommy roared, rage boiling, directing every ounce of his spirit toward the altar. The light flickered, pulsed, and with a final, explosive crescendo, it erupted outward. The creature bellowed one last time, its figure swallowed by the brilliance of the altar, disappearing into the void, and with it, the whispers of despair fell silent, replaced by the chorus of freedom. Finally, the woods quieted, leaving a stillness that felt alien yet familiar. Tommy and Lucy stood in the clearing, now no longer trapped, but alive with an unyielding surge of hope. Slowly, the ground began to shift beneath their feet as the altar pulsed gently, softening into a tranquil glow. I think we did it, Lucy breathed, staring into the radiant light that now felt like a gentle embrace rather than a threat. Tommy nodded, tears streaming down his face as relief cascaded over him. Where darkness had distorted their world, the golden light fused every shattered piece together, igniting their lost hope once more. The woods buzzed with renewed life, as if awakened from a long slumber, breathing fresh air into their lungs, but in the depth of their relief lingered one deep, hollow truth: there was still someone missing. They had to find their father. Come on, Tommy said, wiping his tears as resolve tightened in his chest. We need to go back. We have to look for him. Lucy nodded, a steely glint in her eye. Together, hand in hand, they stepped away from the sanctuary of the altar, leaving behind a world of horrors and diving into the unknown, determined to find their father no matter what lay ahead. As they moved endlessly deeper into the woods, the sun began to rise, painting the horizon in hues of soft gold, scattering the shadows and casting warmth upon their path. Hope surged through them. The forest, though thick and twisted, lay open before them. This was no longer a tale of darkness. This was the beginning of a fight for the light to bring back the lost, and with every step they took, they whispered promises to harness their fears and embrace the dawn. Now it was time for closure, to reunite their family, to reclaim the essence that was lost, and to write their own story of courage, unbound by the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support for more thrilling tales. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of standing by our amazing community through these actions.